This is Raz, and welcome back to the Anime Dungeon. Today we're having another video about One Piece D20, and I'm going to be talking about devil fruits in that game. So, how you handle devil fruits kind of is going to depend on your group. Some groups will let you have them at level 1, some won't, because it's a very powerful thing to have right at the beginning of the game. So the DM has to be prepared to balance that and let other people shine even though you have these powers. So, first off, if you remember back in the first part of this series, if you take a devil fruit at level 1, you will need to take the devil fruit user feat. Now, if you eat a devil fruit later, you get that feat for free. Most of you should probably know what One Piece is if you're going to play this game. But in case for some reason you don't and you're still interested, a devil fruit basically grants you some form of magic power at the cost of no longer being able to swim and similarly being weak against sea stone or kairoseki. They are broken down into three categories: paramecia, zoan, and logia. Logia often being considered the most powerful. So if you're going to be DMing your group, definitely be careful about letting people have Logia fruits. Um, Paramecia basically covers everything that the other two categories don't cover. Zoan is always about transforming into something else, like a reindeer, a human, a bear, a T-Rex, whatever. And in this rule set, they will always have 7 transformations. So, like, if we take Chopper as example, he has the Kung Fu point, he has a guard point, and he has several other forms that he can turn into. In Logia, um, we typically say it's like an element, so like fire, ice, magma, light, darkness, stuff like that. And it allows this user to be able to manipulate that element, and their entire body is made of that element. So that comes with a lot of benefits that make it very beneficial to being a Logia. So I'm going to tell you how the rulebook says to handle giving people devil fruit powers, but you might want to rework it slightly to make it less likely that they get a Logia fruit. So basically, the way that this rule set handles it is you're going to, there's a big list of words right here on page 112 of the player's handbook, and you're going to randomize it. They give you a link to a randomizer somewhere in this paragraph, right here, it looks like. And you just copy all this in there, paste it, hit the button, and it's going to pick one of these randomly. Now, they do not get a mulligan. That is the most important thing. You cannot let them reroll once they roll this. Even if it's the dumbest power in the world, they have to go with it because that's part of the risk of taking a devil fruit power. And once they roll one of these, you need to tell them whether it's a paramecia, zoan, or logia fruit. You have to make a judgment call on that. There are some of these that would be able to fit in several categories because some of the definitions in One Piece are kind of weird. So you have to make a judgment call on that. So after they have this, you then are going to be responsible for making feats. They get devil fruit powers, which count as a feat slot, and I believe they get one per level, and they don't count against feats. And I know humans get a second one at level 1, so they get like a bonus one right when they consume it. And there's not really any requirements for the paramecia. They're all just like attacks or special benefits and stuff like that. But when it comes to the Zoan, you have to make sure that there's 7 forms. They count as stances in this game set. You have to probably have special attacks that these stances do, and the seventh stance is always kind of the same. It's like a really monstrous, uncontrollable version of whatever they turn into, and you have to give them this feat once they have the seventh stance called domesticated, which allows them to fully control that stance. Otherwise, they can't control it. So that's the only requirement for these Zoan fruits. And for the Logia, it's kind of the same as the Paramecia. You just need to come up with attacks, stat benefits, RP things, stuff like that. But they automatically get the Logia body feat right when they get it. And this is the part that's going to make it difficult to deal with them, is that their body is made of whatever element. So the example that they illustrate is oil. So this character's body is made of oil. So if you shoot a bullet at them, it's not going to do anything. If you slash them with a sword, it's not going to do anything. The only things that they're vulnerable to are Haki, specifically the armament Haki, and stronger versions of the devil fruit powers. So like if they're a fire user, if someone with magma hits them, that's a hit. The opposite, so like if they're a fire guy and you shoot water at them or something, that would probably do it. And then there is Sea Stone, because that cancels out their devil fruit power. So that makes them more difficult to deal with right away, because it's kind of unrealistic to send Navy people with Sea Stones after them immediately. But once they know that you're a devil fruit user, it's more likely that there will be someone with a Sea Stone, especially if they know that you're a Logia user. That's like really powerful and they don't want you around. So they'll probably send people with Sea Stones, but that's going to make everyone else in your party's life miserable if they aren't devil fruit users. So I guess that's just something to consider. Cut, because there is one very important thing about devil fruit powers that I was trying to remember and it just kept escaping me. But I finally remembered it, and that is, if you're following the canon of One Piece and you're in the universe, whether you're pre-time skip or post-time skip in terms of the manga and anime, in that universe, only one type of a devil fruit power can exist. And that was a really horrible way to word that. What I actually meant is that devil fruit powers are unique. For example, Luffy has the Gum Gum fruit, which makes him a rubber man. No one else can have that. There can be powers similar to that, but no one else can have the Gum Gum fruit until Luffy is dead. Because this comes up in the show later, I guess this is a bit of a spoiler if you aren't up to that point, but Ace dies, and later on Luffy enters a tournament where the prize is the fruit that was Ace's power. Basically, there's some lore in the series about when someone dies, that the soul of the devil fruit or something like flies out of their body and reappears somewhere else in the world. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind if you're going to make a custom list. If you're not going to follow this list that they gave you, is that you can't have powers that someone else has. Now, there are so many characters in One Piece, it might be kind of ridiculous to memorize every power that exists. So honestly, I would probably just go with this list, because for the most part, I'm going to say it's probably safe. But at the very least, you're going to want to pay attention to main characters and main villains. So like, you shouldn't see light, darkness, ice, magma, fire, depending on if you're pre or post time skip. Rubber, you shouldn't see anyone who's like Luffy besides Luffy. And just like main characters, you should not have their devil fruit powers. Now, if you really wanted to play a game where you're Luffy and you want to just have that power fantasy or whatever, then yeah, of course you're in an alternate universe where Luffy doesn't exist or something like that. So then of course you could have the power. But again, you shouldn't be picking your devil fruit powers. You should be rolling them randomly, because if you can pick, then obviously you're not going to pick like a shitty one like Hug. What would you even do with that? But yeah, you have to roll. Now, if I were leading a campaign, the one thing I would give you is during character creation, I would let you roll for your devil fruit first and then pick your class. Because if you make like your entire character and then you roll a devil fruit, you could get totally screwed. Like you could make a rogue and then your devil fruit power is to turn into an elephant, and then it's like, oh great, well that's really helpful. So I would at least allow you to roll, and you roll elephant and you're like, okay, so I'm probably not going to be a rogue anymore. So then you might pick a warrior or a brawler or anything that isn't a rogue, probably. And I had said no mulligans, but the exception would be I would allow you to say that, okay, I just don't want a devil fruit power then. Like you can't re-roll, but if you rolled elephant and you're just like, well shit, that doesn't go with my character at all, then you could just say I don't want the devil fruit power at all. I wouldn't let you roll again, but I would let you not have a devil fruit power. But that's probably going to come down to your GM, because that's like, okay, well, you took a risk taking a bite of this fruit and you got an elephant power and you didn't want it, so now that's your curse to bear. So I guess it's going to depend on your GM whether or not they're going to let you do that. But in my opinion, I would definitely say that that would be reasonable to just give up your devil fruit power. So I think I've rambled enough about devil fruit powers. I might do a video later on each specific type of fruit and some example feats or something like that. Let me know if that's interesting to you. I'll probably do it anyway, even if no one says anything, but it might go higher on my priorities if someone says something about it. So until next time, guys, this is Raz at the Anime Dungeon, and I'll see you guys very soon.